This is the leadership module called 139. So everyone needs a sheet of paper, put it lengthwise, and they're going to put 139 at the top. And you can put leadership development. This one's huge, and this module will illustrate an absolutely critical um, point of leadership development that we see in Jesus's ministry. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to put 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 2. This is a um, absolute huge verse in the discipleship world. Most people know it. But what we're going to do is we're going to read it at the table, and then we're going to ask the question, how many discipleship generations do we see in this passage? How many discipleship generations are illustrated in this passage? So each table is going to read it. This should take all of literally a minute. And then you're going to come back and you're going to go, all right, how many generations see? And you'll hear anywhere between 2, 3, and 4. And so you're going to like, yeah, let's break that down. So the first generation we see, and we're just going to put a stick figure here. I'm going to put Paul. All right, there's the first one because Paul's writing a letter to Timothy, and then the next one we see here is, I'm going to move this down a little bit here, is we see Timothy. Yeah, that's the next generation. And then this is where it gets kind of interesting. We see I'm going to pull this out here and I'm going to put 3 here because we get this term um, faithful men, and we're going to put that at 3 people. It's at least 2, if not more, because it's plural. So we're going to put 3 here. And I'm going to come back and tell you why we put 3. There's a key. So we have faithful men. Now, you can press this out a little bit further, and then we actually see another potential layer here. And I'm going to call that others. And we're going to put that as another 3 people potentially behind this. And so that's the potential of this just seen in one verse. I'm going to try to put 9 guys there. You get the picture. So we really see here 4 generations. And and the reason we put 3 here is because Jesus really had a core group of 3 men. So if Jesus, no family, no kids, no job, handle 3, that's about where we can handle pouring into unless we're just extraordinary. So we see 4 generations. So this is where we get the name of this module. We see, and we're starting with Timothy, and we're going to work our way up. We see first generation, and then we see that one guy, and then we see 3, and then we see 9. This is a key concept or pattern of the multiplication that we see in the New Testament. And it demonstrates an absolutely critical reality that you only have so much time and resources to pour into people. And so we have to utilize this pattern that we see in the New Testament in Jesus' ministry and we see in Paul's ministry. We are never above what they did. Now, this begs the $1,000,000 question. I just want to put a line here. How do we identify these people, right? Where do we find them? It's the who, right? And here's what's really kind of fascinating about this is if you just keep reading in Second Timothy, we get some admonitions from Paul about who Timothy should be. And we're going to take those and we're going to use those verses 3 through 6 as a jumping off point to identify the who and or how to find these three key individuals that we begin to pour into. And so in verses 3 and 4, and so have someone read that, and you're going to see the picture of a soldier or the illustration of a soldier. And so there's all kinds of things we can identify with a soldier. But the first things we want to see or pull out is they are faithful and they're available. Well, there's all kinds of things we can pull out of a soldier, but those are two key attributes or characteristics. Now, in the next verse, in verse 5, we get another picture that Paul gives us of an athlete. And I don't think this is ironic. I think all this is very intentional. This is what he wanted Timothy to be. And so we're going to say an athlete is teachable, or another word that we can use is trainable. And then the last verse we see in verse 6, or attribute, is of a farmer. Again, lots of things we can pull from a farmer. But for a farmer to be successful, he or she needs to be reproducing. And so we use an acronym. It's a very famous or common one. It's called, Thatcher. Sorry. And so faithful, available, golly, teachable or trainable, whatever you want to use there, and reproducing. So when we are looking for people to spend time with, we begin to look for these attributes. And to be quite honest with you, these are somewhat intuitive. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure these out. They're just common sense. Now, here's what's really cool about them is these first three, you can see these relatively quickly in a person in terms of, are they faithful? Are they doing what you ask them to do? You can see that within days, sometimes even with hours. You ask them to go do something, they go do it. They read something, they research, or whatever the case may be. They show up. The next one, this is absolutely huge in our context. Are they available? This is one of the biggest obstacles I have is they're just not available. They're just so busy. They're so crowded. They're unwilling to make the time or die to certain things to begin to be meeting and to begin to be trained. And this one is also huge. Now, I know guys who are faithful somewhat and available, but they're just not teachable. They have their way of doing things. And so these first three, fat, available, and teachable, reveal themselves relatively quickly. This last one is really takes time. This is when this person is perseverant. They show endurance. They stick to it. They fail a lot and they begin to reproduce. This is really kind of the fourth soil person. And this takes time. And this does not happen overnight. So this is the kind of person that we want to begin to invest in and spend our time with. And you can talk about what are some of the things we can begin to ask them to do and train with it. That's another talk. But let me say this much. This is what I've found is faithful, available, and teachable and reproducing tend to attract faithful, available, teachable, and reproducing people. So when you become this, in time, you begin to attract this. So This is the 139 leadership training module.